Hey, Hank Fire TV fans, this is Jeremy coming to you. Now, I know I've talked to you quite a few times and mentioned something about my competition pistol. Well, I figured about time for me guys to show you what I got. So, I'm going to start off with, this is a Glock 35. Basic Glock 35 model in 40 S&W. Now, it doesn't look like much on the outside. You might notice there's a couple, cosmetic, not any cosmetic changes, but you might notice the extended slide release. Extended slide release is here. Extended mag release is here. But on the outside, everything's about normal. I haven't done any stippling to the grip. Haven't done any grip modifications. However, I've been thinking about rounding off this recess here in the trigger guard and rounding off the trigger with the Dremel tool, just to give it a little bit more comfort in my hand. Because I don't know if any of you shooters know, but you start getting that callus on your knuckle right here from shooting. They call it Glock finger. I don't know if anybody's heard of that before, but I have seen a couple people mention it. However, most of the work I've done to it has all been internal. I have spent some money and some time to modify the internals of my Glock to help me with with competition. So let me tear this apart real quick, and I will show you the internals of what I've done to this. Okay, so I disassembled the slide so I can show you guys the individual components of the slide of what I've done to modify this for competition. Now this is the blank slide. I have taken all the internals out of it. This is a bone stock Glock 35 slide, nothing special. I could do some cutting and some striations to the slide, but what's the point? I mean, honestly, for me, it's not going to do anything for me. However, what I have done is I've installed a lightened safety plunger. This, I believe, is titanium with a lighter spring. I've also, I don't know if you guys can see that, but I have a lightened and skeletonized recoil spring. Let me see if I can get that out. No, it's not going to come out. But you might be able to see all the holes in there. This is a skeletonized striker. Now, one of the things I did do is I actually installed a lighter spring on the striker. It caused some internal problems to the gun. What had happened was during some competitions, when I manually racked the slide and dropped it forward to load a round, I was noticing the trigger was actually firing. Basically the sear was skipping on the striker, and it was actually pushing the firing pin forward. Now, if you just used the slide release and it slammed forward, it would actually slam fire, which is not good because it's going to cause you to get a DQ in any competition. So what I had to do is I actually put the stock striker spring back in there. Didn't have a problem ever since. So it was probably had to do with, evidently, with the lighter spring. So you just got to make sure that if you're going to do any modifications to your gun, you got to make sure that you test it first out of the range before you start a competition, because if you're going to have some mechanical issues, you want to have it during practice, not when you're actually out at a competition, because it's going to cause you time and a lot of issues. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you guys all the items. Oh wait, before I do that, I still use the stock recoil spring. I don't feel there's any necessary need to change that. You might get a faster slide return or slower slide return and reduced recoil. It doesn't make a big enough difference, in my opinion, to justify it. However, I did buy an aftermarket barrel. This is from Lone Wolf Manufacturing. They're actually based out in the Northwest, probably about an hour drive for me. This is their aftermarket stainless steel barrel with standard rifling. So in most Glocks, actually I should say any Glocks that use octagonal rifling, you're not supposed to use lead because it can leave lead residue in there and can cause fouling and overpressurization and blow up your Glock. When you buy an aftermarket barrel like this, not only does it allow you to shoot lead, but also has a lot more chamber support for the 40 S&W round, and more tighter tolerances. So you got to make sure, especially with this barrel, I use I use reloads that I do myself, so I can make sure that they are gauged properly for this barrel, so I don't have any feeding issues. And this helps eliminate, in my opinion, a lot of the bulge issues that you'll see with the lower part of the case on 40 S&W. So let me show you guys the slide next, or excuse me, not the slide, but the frame and the frame internals. Okay, now that I got my the main receiver of my pistol disassembled, I can go ahead and show you guys the internal parts that we have, that I have in for my competition pistol. Now, most of these parts did come from Lone Wolf Distributing. Reason why I like them is they're local, so if I really need a part, I can just drive up there and get it from them. Or they're just have next day shipping in my area, which is great, and their prices are great. Now, this video is not sponsored by them, but I do recommend their products because they are really good products. So first, let's start off with, I got this one from them. It's called the Ultimate Trigger Stop. And if you can see, there is a little tiny set pin right there. And if you look from the back, you can see where you put a Allen key in there. And you can actually adjust how far travel that your trigger will go. So you don't have that extra play in your trigger after the shot's fired. It makes for really quick follow-up shots. So you don't have that over travel. It's an over travel adjustment. In competition, the more excessive trigger pull that you have, I think the longer time you have for makeup shots. Now, I also have a lightened and lighter disconnector. Makes the trigger a little bit lighter. Again, the more trigger squeeze you have, the more likely you are of having your shots deviate because of how much you actually have to pull on the trigger. Now, I had that at first, but I didn't like how much pre-travel I had before the actual firing pin was shot forward, and the shot was fired. So the next thing I got is their Lone Wolf's adjustable trigger. Now, I'm sorry, these are dirty because I just went shooting the other day, so I haven't had time to clean the gun yet. One of the things with this that I really need you guys to be aware of is be very careful with this this screw right here. This screw holds the whole trigger assembly together, and if that's not tight and Loctited in, the recoil and the concussion from the shot fired will actually loosen that up, and it'll start traveling backwards. And what'll happen is the trigger bar will actually go between that plate and the set screws that are in there, because there's a couple recesses right here. You can see one right there, and there's one. Where's the other one? There's one on the bottom. So basically, that's your pre and post travel. So basically, that limits. This is the fulcrum right here. So this will actually go, and this will actually limit how much travel this pre-travel and return travel of this trigger has. So what you can actually do with this is you can actually adjust the amount of pre-travel your trigger has, and also the travel after the shot's broke. So basically, you can just flick your finger like this, and you can actually have this thing go shoot pretty quick. This trigger helped me out tremendously, because I don't have so much take up before the shot goes off on my competition pistol, and it actually helped my scores jump tremendously. And also, it's just a great trigger. I absolutely love this thing. I've had other shooters. I've had a Grandmaster and a Master Class shooter have shot my gun with this trigger on it. They both absolutely loved it, and I don't know if they went and got one for themselves, but they did like this trigger. So I'd highly recommend that if you're into if you want to increase your the performance of your trigger. Highly recommended. Now, with magazines, the biggest thing is you want to have enough to finish a match, or not a match. I'm sorry, to finish a stage at a match. You want to have enough rounds to finish. So I have my factory 14 round Glock 35, or Glock, I think this will fit a Glock 22, 23, and 35, I believe. But I have the Taylor Freelance magazine extensions. This holds on a 40 an extra 3 or 4 rounds, depending on. There's a lot of variables, but usually on mine, I think I only load them 3 more. But what this looks like when it's sticking out of the gun is it looks similar like that. But the nice thing about that is these are made of, I believe, nylon, but they add some extra weight to the bottom of the gun. So the heavier your gun is, the less recoil you're going to feel. And with these magazine extensions on the bottom, not only does it help you seat the magazine easier because it's something you grab off your belt and you just slide in, but they actually add some more weight to the bottom of the gun, which helps your recoil and your follow-up shots as well. Not only that, but it makes them stand up on their own on a table instead of the traditional slanted ones. So if you have those matches or those stages where you have to go from an unloaded gun on a table, you can stand this upright. And I've seen guys that'll have this sitting on a table, gun sitting like this. They'll grab their gun and just go like that, and they're loaded. And of course, you got the extended magazine release, so your thumb can always find home, and it's a lot bigger pad, and you get more leverage on it. So you get your magazine reloads are faster. So yeah, so that's my Glock 35 competition pistol. If you guys want to know more or want to see more, click like if you liked it. Hit thumbs down if you didn't. Comment if you have any questions or want to see more. Just let us know. So again, this is Jeremy with Hangfire TV. Subscribe. Don't miss any videos. Have a good day.